Will we see? Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're so excited to have you here today for our data science event. We've got some pros here who will talk to you about everything that you need to know to get started navigating this increasingly competitive industry. We'll give it about a minute to let people trickle in. While you are waiting, we're doing something really exciting for the folks that are here live. We are giving away a free spot to our upcoming data science recruiting bootcamp. This is awesome. It's like 8 sessions. We bring in the very best coaches and experts on the platform. You get to hear from a lot of different perspectives. And it's kind of the best starter pack. It's your kind of zero to hero thing. And I think it's valued at over $2,000. We'll go into a little bit later, but we're giving away one person for free tonight. So make sure to go to bit.ly/giveaway-ds. We'll also send the link in the chat and enter to win that giveaway. It's completely free to win, and we'll announce the winner at the end. Should we get started, Annie? I know we've got a lot of content to cover.
Sure. Let's get started. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks for being here so much for spending your afternoon with us. We've got Annie and Michelle will be leading this session. My name's Amelia. I work at Leland. I'm here to intro them and help you guys get situated and find out about what Leland is if this is your first event with us. We have got incredible experts. I am so excited to hear from them today. Annie, as you can see, has over 30 years of experience as a chief data officer. Michelle is a senior software engineer, has experience at FANG, is a speaker and author, and has been on the platform for quite a while. So you are hearing from the best of the best today. Let's dive in, shall we?
Sure.
Cool. So if this is your first time at any kind of Leland event, we just want to tell you who we are so that you're like, oh, what am I doing here? And why should I be listening to these people? So Leland is kind of your one-stop shop for reaching whatever your goal may be across test, admissions, career, truly anything. So if you're trying to break into a new career, if you're trying to get into grad school, if you're trying to ace some kind of test, if you just kind of want to figure out how to communicate better or build an executive presence, whatever it is that you're trying to do, the main thing that Leland offers is you can work one-on-one with experts who are at the very, very top of their fields. The benefit of this is that it's incredibly personalized, right? You can work with someone for exactly where you feel like you want help with, and you get someone who is like really a teammate. Like they're in your corner and they understand you deeply and are rooting for you to succeed. We also do boot camps, which I mentioned. We're doing a data science one. We'll talk about that a bit later. And we also have Leland Plus, which is this asynchronous content platform with tons of example resumes and cover letters and networking forms and a bunch of other career resources that you can access. You also get free access to Leland Plus through the bootcamp. This is us. Let's go to the next one. Annie, I think one of my favorite parts about working at Leland, and a lot of other people on the team would probably say this, is that it is so exciting to see people reaching their goals constantly. I'm sure our coaches can attest this too. They're helping their clients reach tons of things. As you can see, we're constantly seeing people land jobs at Boston Consulting Group, LinkedIn, Google, getting into schools like Harvard Business School and Duke and Chicago Booth. So every single day, it feels like we're hearing awesome news from people. We like to joke that when you get a coach at Leland, you draft a whole team. You draft a whole team to your side, because really we are here to help you. We are building Leland because we believe in you. We want to make sure that you have access to the resources that traditionally have been unavailable to people at this kind of echelon of quality. For the next slide, there's a lot of if you're newer to coaching, I think it's kind of confusing of like, oh, okay, so I can work with these people, but how do I do that? What does that look like? The benefit of coaching, the beauty of coaching is that, again, it is so personalized. So if you like are starting to apply to jobs and you're like, oh, I don't know what companies fit me, or I don't know what my resume should look like, or what do I do for the interviews? What should I even expect for the interviews? What do I say? What's my behavioral story? Is there a technical side? How do I navigate a case component? So whatever kind of specific thing that you want help with, you can find a coach for. You can also find a coach for a comprehensive, like end-to-end thing. This is someone who's going to hold your hand and pretty much walk you through the entire recruiting process, or from A to B, whatever your goal may be. I actually have a Leland coach. I've done Leland boot camps. I'm such a believer in coaching. I've worked with awesome individuals like Annie and Michelle on this platform and can truly attest to the quality of the advice and all of their knowledge. With that, I will leave it to Annie and Michelle to take us on a journey for data science.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Annie. This is our, quick agenda for this afternoon. We're going to touch on these about 6 or 7 topics. So let's just get right down to it. I'm Annie. Again, I'm the chief data officer. I've been a chief data officer for about 4 years now at a public company. I've been head of data science, VP of analytics for like almost a decade. I am a guest lecturer and mentor for USC student, UCLA, and Occidental College. Michelle?
Hi, I'm Michelle. My pronouns are she, her. I've been at Netflix for the past 5 years, and I've been in tech for 15 years. I'm a self-taught engineer. That's one of the reasons I like coaching is to help people who aren't on the exact right path they think they need to be on to become a software engineer and to get those great jobs that they're looking for. I actually went to art school and learned Python on the job, and it was really exciting for me. And I really loved it and grew. And I really want to do that for others. So not only am I working as a software engineer and as a coach, I write articles, I speak all over the world, and I can help you find a way to brand yourself and help you find the right career path for you.
Great. So let's go to trends. So I put some references here. These are all publicly available data set. Uh, they're a little on the low side. I'm seeing, data scientists. These are different flavors of software engineering, data engineer, and data scientists and analysts. There's many more categories out there. This is kind of national average. And I'm actually seeing way higher salaries for any of these. Would you agree, Michelle? I think this is
Yeah, what are these numbers written by
there's
managers
the
to try
reference right
to
here.
convince us?
The reference is
Uh,
Coursera. So there's a link there. But
I think this is written by managers. It's for you to negotiate lower. I think if you were coaching with us, we would make sure you negotiate
yes,
higher than this.
yes, I know. These are a little bit on the low side, but imagine about 30K more. That's kind of ballpark what I'm actually seeing. But the trend is job growth in these areas are still continuing to grow. There's an article there, you can take a look. Expected 10-year growth is about 36%. This is another publicly available salary data set. Just this company, Carrot, published it at the end of 2024. Now, there's all of these different types of engineers. Some are more software engineering side, and some are more on the data science side, right? Data science includes a huge data science, a superset of machine learning, AI, and all that stuff. Now, if you look at the bottom right, prompt engineering is a job. So it wasn't a job in 2023, but it was a job at the end of 2024. And now, if you kind of search on it, now there's a new type of job called prompt engineering. And so that is kind of like the how you work with LLMs and create chatbots and things like that. So I think the overall story is that 2024 we're still in a growing phase for, technology, despite all the things that you heard, despite AI innovation and automation and lots of layoffs and things like that. There are many, many small and medium-sized businesses who do not have a data science or data team, and probably don't even have a dedicated software engineering team. I don't even think they need a data science or data engineering, but that's essentially what some of the work that they're asking consultants to do. So, uh, anything you want to add there, Michelle?
Yeah, I feel like when I look at this slide, it can seem incredibly confusing to people who haven't had their first job or even had their first job. And they're like, which one of these do I want to do? How much work do they entail? What is this? So I think it's all about breaking down the skills that you have, the skills that interest you, the type of products that interest you, the type of companies that interest you, and then also adding on top of that sprinkling in the trends that are happening overall. So, you want to make sure that the skills that you're learning are the ones that are in high demand. That's one of the reasons I went from art school to learning how to use Python because the art school jobs weren't really working out, but there were a lot of Python jobs. And I was like, well, what do I care about more? Like focusing very hard on monetizing my art, or do I want to have a job where I can have stability, where I can take care of my family, where I can support the people in my life and make sure that, I have the security to do what I want with my life. And that's a lot of what I focus on. So I make sure that I'm always learning. I'm always learning whatever the trends are. And I think of them as opportunities, right? So one of the things that has come up in my career is that we've gone from private cloud to AWS, Google, Microsoft, and all these cloud services. And when that was happening, people were saying like, well, we will need so many less engineers because AWS is so easy, right? Like you don't need any engineers to use that. And I like telling that story because clearly that didn't happen. We just went from database engineers to AWS engineers, right? And the tools that and projects we were able to work on were expanded, right? We were like the fish that got a bigger fish tank where we were able to do more, but they didn't need us less. They can't use AI to come up with ideas and structures of how to use AI. We're not there yet. So I don't want people to be scared like, hey, automation's going to come in and take our jobs. I want people to be excited and be like, what are the tools that I should learn to be better at my job so I can get to the next level and make sure that I'm always following the trends because it's a lot of the same skills of problem solving and learning, but making sure you're on the right way and you're not stuck on skills that are going to hold you back and might not get you at the right opportunities. It's all about, especially when the market is a little tighter, what are the jobs that the people really want to fill? And that's a lot about what we're talking today is data science and AI because those are the jobs that people want right now. Okay, I'm all done. Good luck.
Yeah,
Good luck getting me
I-
to be quiet or not fill the hour because I could just keep talking.
Don't worry, we'll fill the hour. Yeah, I just chiming in there. Like 15 years ago, there is a very hot job called database and administrator. As you can see here, that's no longer here. But what are those people doing? They're doing data engineering now. They're not taking care of the infrastructure side, and so they're actually doing how to get data from one system, massage it, make it faster, make it more actionable, stick it in a data warehouse faster and faster and faster, like real-time streaming data. So instead of database administrator, we have data engineering, and then also other like DevOps engineers. So the roles are changing. You have to learn the trend, and I'm continuously learning all like every other month I'm taking some class, right? Like just to kind of level up to make sure you can't be stagnant because you can't expect yourself to grow in your career if you don't grow in your skill set. Okay, great. Let's go to the next slide here. So if you're starting out, if you're like either a career changer or coming out of college or maybe even high school, I'm not sure, right? Starting out, what kind of data scientist do you want to be? There are so many kinds. Like 15 years ago, there was like one job called data science, but now there's many. There's marketing data science, right? How click rate, retention, lead generation, all that stuff. Product data scientists, Netflix, it's a product and they want people to watch a movie. How do you get people to watch a movie? What do you recommend? Those things. That's a product data scientist. We don't know what people are watching. So, product, anything that's you are subscribing to or buy, obviously Amazon, you buy stuff, that's a product. TikTok, you're watching videos, they want you to watch videos, that's a product, right? So, and those are, product data scientists. ML engineers are the people who are data scientists and code and put stuff directly into production. Well, not directly. They do development, QA, and then production, right? So they actually write the code to make the algorithms happen. AI engineers new, right? Those are all the LLMs of the world. Analytics engineer is a combination of data analysts who codes, who actually are bridging the gap between data analyst and data engineer. They're not 100% data engineer and they're not 100% data analyst. They're a combination of both sets of skills. Call it full stack data analyst. So and there's many more. I'm just highlighting the top data science jobs out there. And what skills do you need? Now, typical skills of any data scientist, foundation of statistics. There's some kind of programming you need. Right now, majority of data scientists are using Python. A little smaller researcher group are using R, and obviously Java and things like that. There's a lot of ML methods, clustering, classification, all that stuff, regression. You need to know your basics, right? If you don't know that, it's kind of hard to get to the next level because a lot of the other algorithms are built on top of the foundational stuff. The foundational stuff are built on top of statistics and other things. So there's like a ladder of skills and knowledge that you need to know. A few of the things, and I just had a talk at USC for the Marshall School, Business Marshall School there, and I was talking to the student who were about to graduate. They're like, "Oh, and I know SQL. I know SQL." I said, "Well, do you know database technology?" They're like, "Yes." I said, "Well, tell me a few database technology." They go, MySQL. Yes. I said, "What else?" "That's all we know." I said, "Okay." So there's so many more database technology because if you're a data scientist, you need data. The word of the data scientist is data scientist. You need data. So you have to be able to get the data. You have to be able to manage and get the data, massage it, and figure it out yourself. You can't, nobody's going to pair a data scientist with a software engineer to help you get all that stuff. You have to know how to do it yourself. So learning database technology is very important. Different, relational database, NoSQL, vector, uh, document database. There's so many. So, go and learn about that. Now, cloud technology, it's not new, but surprisingly, a lot of people coming out of college doesn't know how to navigate around cloud technology. I said that, well, if nothing else, learn AWS. Go and learn high level a few things. How to put a file in S3, how to load a data from S3 into a database in AWS, and then how do you use a tool on your laptop to connect to the database in AWS. So all that round trip, right? Again, when you're hired into a company, you're expected to know that. And if you don't know that, your resume is not going to float to the top. They rather have someone who already know, and then as opposed to have to like teach you everything, right? They're expecting you to learn that. So experience side, right? As you're starting out, you don't have a lot of experience, but people would love to have an associate data scientist with 5 years experience. Well, that doesn't happen. So how are you going to get experience? Internships, right? Now they're kind of hard to get now these days. I'm hearing from the college kids. Do personal impactful projects. Something in your life that's like there's a blocker. Oh, my son, I'll just give you a quick story. My son just started UCSD as a data science major, funny enough. And he goes, "Mom, there's all these events at school, and they're all over the place, and over here, and there's like 3 blocks away, and they're changing time all the time, and then they're like the prices, there's a student discount, no student discount." I said, "Are they on a website?" And he said, "Yeah, they're on a website, but it's impossible to navigate the website." I said, "Well, you can scrape the website and then just stick it in a Google Sheet somewhere. Then you have everything in one place, and you can go search on it." He goes, "That's a great idea." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine. That's why I'm your mom. I have all the great ideas." So he actually did that. He says, "Okay, I'm going to do that," because I taught him how to scrape websites and stuff. And then he put it in a spreadsheet and he goes, "Oh, this is so easy." And then he shared it with his friends. And then he says, "I'm going to use this data and build a map." So he actually built a map in Python, and then he can click on it and then see which one's going. So, and he shared it with his friend. His friend's great. And then one of his first class in data science, his professor or his professor as a lady, she goes, "Oh, like, what have you guys been doing in the summer?" I was kind of like, icebreaker. And he goes, "I did this. I was doing scraping. My mom was teaching me, blah, blah, blah. And then I did this to show all the events." He goes, "Oh my God, that's great. Can I use that data for my class?" And so she started using his data for class. So there's something in your life that is very personal to you that you want to solve, and can you solve it in a project? And then you have a great story how you solve something, how you did it, technology wise. Put the code in GitHub, put it in your resume. No one in the world would have done that particular project, right? As opposed to survival rate for Titanic, iris calcification, things like that. Everybody's done that. Don't do that. Do stuff that's meaningful to you. Volunteering, there's lots of volunteering, data for good kind of thing. Communication, Michelle's going to talk about that as presentation, all this stuff. And then if you have some previous job, figure out how you can reframe it so that it's more data driven, right? Even if you're like a marketing person, you can spin your previous job as a data experience. Okay. Now,
Can
yes.
I add a little more to
Yes,
that
go
last
ahead.
one?
Sorry.
I just want to add, just
Go
go
back.
back one? Yeah, okay. I just don't want people to feel overwhelmed that like you need to have all these skills because it can feel like you need to be an expert in everything. And that's actually been a trend of the industry where it used to be that you could be very narrow focus, like be that database engineer, be that, just the front end or just the back end. But now you're seeing more and more, they want you to do the entire thing. And it can feel very overwhelming. And you can see this list and be like, I have to learn statistics, Python, ML, database, and cloud. And all of those are not small items. You use like 5 words I don't even know because I'm not a data scientist. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just the foundational. Wow, this can seem like a lot. But the thing is, you don't need to be an expert in everything. You just need to understand how they're all connected and the words, and then you can always dig in. The important thing is kind of getting an idea of how a job would be structured, what these things are, what these words mean. You start with that, and then you start digging in. You start digging into statistics, start making projects with Python, start doing AWS, and you will start to understand them as people are talking about them. You'll go to presentations where people are talking about them. You'll go to tutorials and you'll start to make these connections because you have the base of like what these words actually mean. When I was first starting out, I spent a lot of time in meetings writing words down and then trying to Google them later. And half the time I would spell them wrong and I have no idea what anyone was talking about. But I did my best. And the nice thing about now and with all these AI chatbots is that you can ask them whatever questions you want and you don't have to worry about looking silly or people asking like, oh, you should have known that already. People have these ideas that everyone is an expert in everything. And I don't want you to feel overwhelmed and feel like you can't do this. If you have a passion for learning and a passion for problem solving and you want to do this, I want you to feel like you can and know that you just take one step at a time and learn one thing at a time, and you'll find something that's really interesting to you. And building on what Annie said, you'll find projects that are interesting to you, and you'll find places that might need help, helping out. The volunteering, there's so many small businesses that could use help, and they don't mind a student project because they have nothing, right? It's nonprofit, small businesses, just helping them get started and get these ways to stand out is something that you could both work on. You get the experience and they get something that they can use to help their business or their nonprofit. It's a win-win situation. So I just want to build on that. Thank you, Annie, for letting me bump in. I might
Yeah,
keep doing
jump in
that with every
anytime. Yeah.
slide. Yeah.
Yeah. The point is not to have the point of the slide is there are lots of things to learn, and you're not going to be an expert in every one of these bullet points. And is to find, figure out what kind of data scientist you want to be, and then hone in on those skills for that. Like, let's say I want to be a marketing data scientist. If I'm marketing data scientist, I probably need to know how e-commerce works. I probably need to know how social media works. What are the typical questions and product improvement? How do I measure that? Like, then you will dive deeper, right? So I think it's from left to right, really interesting is what do you want to do, right? I think what first thing is, a lot of times I hear, I just need a job. No, what kind of job, right? I can give you a job right now, right? You could go mow my lawn. That's a job. But you don't want to do that job. You don't want that job. You want a data science job. So anyway, okay, yeah. It's just one step at a time. All right, next one is, so that was one category starting out. Let's say you're already a data professional, you want to grow your career, what do you need to do, right? Like, so what, this webinar is about data scientists, so I concentrate on data science. So typical data scientist on the left, right, is pretty much what they normally do, coming out of college or your first job at a data science. Do a lot of A/B testing on websites, on products, things like that. Do a lot of statistical analysis, do some visualization, do some, the top three things that I talked about, right? Clustering, regression, classification. So then as you move on to the senior data scientist, then you create more like production level models. You will work with a lot of data, the big data. I used to work in ad tech. ad tech, every bid on a real-time bidding engine, bidding the little ads on your phone and the beloved little ads that you guys see when you play a game or you go to a website, those little ads are bidding real time. And there's billions and billions of impressions that one company generates a day. So then if you're a data scientist in ad tech, you have to figure out how to work with large amount of data. Then there's a lot more like kind of newer stuff, like not newer, but like, last 20 years, deep learning, the neural networks and things like that, more AI methods. And then you'll probably venture into more of a team lead kind of situation. There are probably, a few senior data scientists, a few junior data scientists, and then team lead. Team lead is leading project from beginning to end. And then growing again from team lead is now the manager, director, VPs of data science, right? These are the folks that do more road mapping. What are we going to accomplish in the next quarter, year, so on? The strategy, how we're going to do it, the resources that I need, probably need to run multiple projects. That person is setting deliverables and timelines to kind of pass it back down to the teams that are going to actually do the work and execute. And one of the most important, but never talked about things is growing and retaining the team, right? Once you get a great data scientist coming out of college, they're learning stuff, they're being productive, 3 years in, they leave, right? So one of your job is to grow and retain the team. Keep them engaged and productive. That's a skill in itself, right? As a manager. Michelle, do you have anything to add?
I think that on this, let's go to the next one.
Okay, cool. Okay, so how do you get the skills that you need? Where should I go? How do I start? Right? I'm going to talk very long on this topic, but high level is learning part, the actual learning part, online classes. Now, there's lots of things that you can take. If you have a full-time job, you can take it on the weekends. The Udemy, Coursera, Stanford Online, MIT Online, many boot camps. One of them is hosted by Leland. A lot of local conferences, right? You should attend local conferences, meet people that are in your industry. You'd be surprised how many people you would learn. Like, I went to one conference, I met like 20 new people, and they all linked in with me. We talk, we chat. Volunteer for a good cause. Data for good. There's lots of them. Lots of local governments and NGOs. They have limited budget, but maybe you could trade experience. You can help them solve something, and they will give you their data and work on some projects, right? A lot of climate stuff, homelessness, things like that. So it's a great way to get experience. Meetups, lots of meetup. I'm a shameless plug here. I'm one of the meetup co-organizer for PyLadies LA, one of the first Python meetup designed for women and other minorities to kind of come and learn technology. I mean, it's open for everyone, but our goal is to have more women presenting and be comfortable in front of kind of a public speaking situation. What else? My camera is blocking my way. Okay, here it is. Certifications. Yeah, there's a lot of certifications out there. There's no shortage of certifications, but which one actually matters? Don't just do all of them, but you go and figure out, reputable places that are giving you certifications. I think if you have experience, you don't really need certification, but if you're starting out and you just want to have a stamp on your resume, I'm certified by MIT, data science bootcamp certification, that might give you a leg up. A lot of workshop hackathons. I'm going to one tomorrow, Hack Los Angeles, Hack Long Beach, Hackathon Long Beach. It's hosted by a AI company who's going to teach us all about AI, of course, in their ecosystem, but it's still free training, right? Write about your experience, right? Lots of places to write about your experience. Medium, your own article, lots of Substack everywhere, grow your own network. Lots to unpack there, but I'll send it over to Michelle.
I like that I get the networking because I do a whole workshop on networking. I want to talk about a little bit of everything and then also networking. So this is another thing where it can seem overwhelming and it can be like, how do I do all of these things? I also already have a job. I have kids to take care of. I might have parents to take care of. There's just a little bit at a time. And the way I would do this is I personally like to time box and I say, okay, every day I'm going to do a little bit. I'm going to do 30 minutes. I'm going to pick one of these things I'm going to do. I'm going to write about a project I'm working on. I'm going to apply to speak at a conference. I'm going to go to a meetup for 30 minutes. I'm going to work on a course for 30 minutes and just that every day. And people often overestimate what they can get done in a day and underestimate what they can get done in a week and a month and a quarter. You can imagine how much it builds up if you do a little bit every day. And that's really what you need to do. There, there's this world where you can just go to school and get the internship and get the job and just everything is easy. And I don't know where that world exists. It's never existed for me. I've had to work really hard with branding that includes writing about your experience, talking about your experience, and contributing to open source projects. And then also, networking is so important. I got my first job by volunteering at a conference. So that's another way to go to conferences for free. You just volunteer, they have scholarships. Don't just look at a conference website and see that it's $1,500 and say, oh, there's no way I could be a part of this. Conferences are such amazing experiences. Everyone just wants to hang out and talk to you about stuff that you're interested in. So it's really easy to have conversations and make friends. Networking is all about making friends. It can sometimes feel like I'm just talking to you just to get things out of you, but that's not really what it is. Annie and I met through networking and we're friends now and we do stuff like this together and we help each other. She said, I want to do something different. And I said, why don't you try Leland? And she said, let's do a data science workshop where we could talk about all the stuff together. I'm like, great idea. And we go back and forth and we're always helping each other. And that's the point of building a network, is that to help each other. So I got my first job volunteering at a conference. I got my current job by speaking at a conference. And it's all about people putting faces to names, and that puts you at the top of the pile. Especially now, hiring is really difficult because there's so much AI, and you've seen that as well when you're looking for jobs. You're constantly putting out. You can put in 1,000 resumes using AI, but the person who's looking at it is also getting 1,000 resumes and doesn't know what's real or not because the AI can invent words for people that don't know what they actually mean. So it's even more important that we go to events and talk to people and meet people and use that as an opportunity for hiring. So just remember that it's not just you that has to network, but it's also the people that are hiring that has to network. So you can help each other by getting it in front of each other, and also network with people who are at your level. Look at all the people who are in this workshop today. Talk to each other, help each other. And then one day you might be giving each other jobs. So it's all about growing your network. All right, I think that's enough on this. Let's keep going, Annie.
I always have a comeback for that. Yeah, so my
Yeah.
last 3 jobs, I did not apply. Actually, the CDO job, I was talking to a guy I used to work with last job, and he said, hey, I'm looking for a head of data science. I said, I don't want to be a head of data science. I want a CDO because every time I'm a head of data science, company merges, whatever happens, get bought out, they bring in somebody, quote unquote, more senior. And they were actually less experienced and actually did less technically than me. I said, I don't want to be a head of data science and then I build a great team, build product, and you bring somebody else over me and manage me. So I said, no. And so he goes, oh, okay. All right, that's fine. I only have a budget for head of data science. And so after a year, we talked on and off for about 6 months, and I actually even met the CEO, and they're like, "Oh, that's great, Annie's great. Give her a head of data science." I declined it. I'm like, "How dare I?" Right? So, but about 6 months later, I saw on LinkedIn they were still trying to fill the head of data science. And I said, hey, looks like you guys are still trying to fill it. what do you think about my proposal? CDO. He goes, yeah, I think there's nobody strong enough than you. So fine. So just think about like all the connections you've made in the past, um, how you can leverage them when you see a job posting, and even like even second degree connection, right? Just think about that. Um, I went to a DataCon LA conference about 10 years ago. I wasn't even looking for a job. I was actually happy where I was, and I was just walking the booths and talking to people like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" Or data science, blah blah blah. And they talk, I'm like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing this." Oh, that's interesting. Tell me about that. And so, because I was just walking booth to booth, talking to people, and there just happens to be a VP of data there, and he was looking for a data science manager, director. We talked. He actually offered me the job 2 weeks later, but I said, "Well, I'm not looking for a lateral move. I'm looking for a growth." He goes, "Oh, that's too bad. I only have a budget for a lateral." So anyway, I point is go to these things, meet people that are doing things differently than you, meet people that are in your level, and then you never know, right? You guys should be all linked into each other right now. You guys should share your LinkedIn profile with each other so that you can expand your network. Okay.
Oh, and go on the Leland Slack. That's a great way to
Oh
talk
yeah,
to each
join
other.
Leland Slack.
Yeah, join Leland, go to the Leland
Yeah,
community. It's much
that's
easier
right.
to talk to each other. You can talk to each other in groups as opposed to just one-on-one here as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Amelia?
Thanks so much, Annie Michelle. This has been great so far. Send in your LinkedIn profiles right now while we're doing this because it will get the chat a little bit busy. Otherwise, we're tracking all of the questions that you're asking because we will have time for some Q&A at the end. And I'm making note, especially of the ones that have been thumbs up or the plus sign. So if you see a question that you're resonating with, give it some kind of emoji so that we know which ones to prioritize. Okay, 2-minute commercial break. Thank you, Michelle and Annie. Grab a sip of water. As I mentioned, we're doing this data science recruiting boot camp. I'm in a boot camp for Leland right now, actually, and I can sit here and personally attest that these boot camps are so incredibly valuable. I think there's something about like having someone else accountable for you. It kind of is that college like course structure. It's so nice to just have someone providing the structure and the advice very top down. It starts on March 24th. It ends on April 9th. It's on Zoom and every session is recorded. So if the times don't work, whatever else, you can still be a part of the boot camp, watch the recording, still be in the Slack group, still get all the homework and resources and all of that. So doing it asynchronously is completely an option. If you haven't already, make sure that if you've signed up for this giveaway. It's completely free to sign up, and we're giving away one spot tonight, and your odds are pretty good with 200 of you here. If you could move to the next slide for me, please, Annie. Just want to give you a little bit of a sneak peek at what this boot camp will entail. So as you can tell, we truly try to be incredibly comprehensive and give you kind of a base foundation layer that you can then go work with an expert like Annie and Michelle on honing your specific personal narrative and needs within that on top of that foundation. So how do you even land the interview? Technical interviews are huge for data science. How do you do coding and algorithmic thinking and statistics, ML, data visualization? So we'll talk about those cases and bring in experts on the technical side to walk you through it. Also, behavioral interviews. We've seen there's a ton of comments that have been in the questions like, oh, I'm coming from an ML background, or I'm coming from academia and I don't know how to pivot into this. Behavioral interviews are going to help, are going to give you a chance to tell your story in a really compelling way, and we'll go into that as well. And then, as Michelle mentioned, I think coaching can be incredibly valuable for getting that salary up, negotiation of equity and other benefits at companies. So we'll also talk about offer negotiation, career growth, long-term success, as Annie was talking about. Now you're a data scientist, great. How do you grow within that? How do you get yourself up the ladder and become a better data scientist, set yourself up for success? So as you can see, like genuinely every part of the foundation of trying to get a role in data science is covered here. If you wouldn't mind going to the next one, please. The cool thing about being here today, thanks for being here live, is we're giving you this discount. Normally this boot camp is over $2,500. There's a ton that goes into it. It's not just content. You do mock interviews. We'll set you up with mock interviews with peers. We've built custom assignments and drills for you. You do actually get a 30-minute case interview with a coach as part of this. Live Q&A, access to Lean Plus, coaching discounts, a network of applicants, as we were just talking about networking. So all of this is over $2,500 in value. Tonight, you get an $800 discount, which is insane. Only today. And if you don't do if you fill out that giveaway thing, you'll get the discount code at the end. So fill out the giveaway. Make sure that you get that discount code. This is going away tonight, and it is an incredible offer, and it is only for the people that have signed up for this event as a thank you for being here in person. Thanks, Annie. Next slide. And then just want to get you the link just in case you've missed it so far. So bit.ly/giveaway/DS to apply for the giveaway for that data science. I can promise, guys, we started these boot camps because we found that they were the best way to get started in trying to break in a new field. These are incredibly valuable. They are proven, and I am doing one. So I promise that we internally believe in them as well. Michelle, Annie, back to you. Thanks.
Okay, great. Michelle?
Oh, yeah, it's my turn. I do want to add that I'm actually hosting one of the boot camps right now. So I'm working on software engineering, and it's been really great getting to talk to people and getting them started on their pathway. So definitely take a look at that. Okay, so this is my slide. I made this with AI, actually, my robot and his computers. So the reason I wanted this slide is that I wanted to talk about not just data science here, but what you can do as a software engineer. So as a software engineer, I see all these conferences and talks and jobs coming up with AI, and I'm like, well, I don't know anything about statistics or data science, and that's just like so outside of my league. But how can I be a part of this? And I just want to say there is many opportunities. So at my job right now, not only do I use AI every day to help me with debugging, so it's a tool for me, is I can help the data science and the AI engineers with their jobs. It's called the infrastructure part of it. So as a software engineer, I'm building control planes. I'm helping them with disk images. I'm helping them with their NVIDIA drivers, everything they need to get set up and working as fast as possible on the latest machines. And so I just want to let you know, I've heard it called AI ops or sometimes machine learning ops, which is just like AI operations, machine learning operations. These are all kind of newish terms that you start seeing, but a lot of it is how can I use my software and infrastructure knowledge and knowledge of AWS and knowledge of Java to help other data scientists do their job and build on that and kind of be a part of that AI team without being the scientist. So there are opportunities for software engineers. Is really what I wanted to talk about. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, I wanted to talk about interviews, and you only have one chance to make a first impression, but you do have lots of chances to practice. So the important thing is doing that. One of the metaphors I like to talk about is the fire drill practice. So why do we do fire drills? I'm sure all of you have had a chance to do this either at school or at work. It's because if there is an actual fire, most often people will freeze or like walk in place or walk to the wrong place to like forget how to do what they need to do. So that's why we practice. We literally practice walking down the stairs, because then when the fire actually happens, we'll get into this muscle memory of walking to the stairs and walking down the stairs. And you can do the same thing with interviews by practicing with your peers, by practicing at job fairs, by practicing at alumni fairs. You can get into this habit of telling your stories in a way that are easy for people to understand and easy for you to say, so that you don't get nervous in interviews, because here's my story. This is who I am. And then if this is the person that you want, this is what you're going to get. I always, like to get to that part where you're not letting your nerves get in the way of showing your best self. Because once the people see your best self, then they're going to want you on their teams, and you're going to be able to land those jobs that you want. So I want to talk a little bit about job fairs, and one of the tricks that I have, whenever you have an opportunity to talk to a bunch of people at booths, at conferences, at online job fairs, any meetups, you should analyze the room and think, okay, who do I want to make the best impression on? Which one of these booths are the most important? And you look at that person and you go talk to them last. First of all, the most exciting people are the ones that are gonna have the biggest lines, and everyone's gonna go towards them first, and they're gonna be overwhelmed. Just wait it out. Go talk to the people you're least interested in, because they're gonna get your worst story. You're gonna be the most nervous. You're gonna not sure what to say, and then just kind of analyze their reaction and what they most were interested in, and think about how you can change what you're talking about and move on to the next person. If this sounds like an A/B test, it is an A/B test in real life. Yes, I've taught you some tech. If you don't know what an A/B test is, now you know what it is. You try something out, and if it doesn't work, you try something else out. And which one of these works better? And then by the time you get to the person that you really want to talk to, the team that you're most excited to talk to, you know what you're saying, and it's easy to get the words out. So that's my tip on being able to tell your stories. And then one more thing is I want to talk about cold and hot interviewers. I just actually read this in an article and I thought it was so fascinating. If I think back to the different type of interviewers I've had some people who you're talking with, you're vibing with, they're talking back and forth, it's really exciting, and you're like, this is so easy. It's like talking to a friend. And then you have other interviewers who are like, or they even give you like weird looks, like, you don't know that. What? And then you're like, your heart will sink. I started crying. Like, it's just so hard when people aren't like really connecting with you. And once I realized how the terms for it, I realized that's another way to practice is get your friends when you're practicing, have ones that respond to you and ones that don't respond to you. And by practicing with both, you'll be able to have that confidence to handle both. Okay, next slide.
Oh, I have one chime in here. So
Oh,
actually,
go for it.
I had a Leland client, and he was about to go into a he engaged me with me very late. Like he goes, I need some help with interview. I said, okay, great. Well, let's work on this one. He goes, my interview is tomorrow. I said, well, should have back it up a few days or at least a week. Anyway, I said, how do you feel? He goes, I feel very prepared. I've been practicing. I said, what do you mean by practicing? I've been practicing in my mind, the question being asked, and then I'm answering them in my mind. I'm picturing myself answering them. I said, okay, well, let's do a quick mock interview, 15 minutes. We had half an hour, 15 minutes. He goes, okay, I'm ready. So I said, I pull up a job description. I sent it over to him. I said, I'm gonna ask you some questions based on this job description, okay? Because the interview is very specific to a job description, and also very specific to your resume, right? The resume and the job description has to match. So I'm trying to figure out like what you did in your past that matches the job. So I started talking to him like, oh, what do you think about SQL? What do you think about this? What about? And then he froze. He froze. And I said, so I say, let's pause. I'm going to take off my interview hat. Why are you not talking? Why are you not answering these questions? He goes, I just got really nervous all of a sudden because I put my interview hat on. I was no longer his coach, and his mind flipped and he couldn't answer the questions. He got really nervous. And I said, okay, calm down, calm down, calm down. Imagine I am a coach that's asking you questions. Don't think of me as an interviewer. Think of me as your coach. And trying to be, as friendly as you were before we decided to do this. He goes, okay, that helps. That helps. And so I think mock interviews, actually doing them out loud, not in your head, really helps because what you think you're going to do and what you actually do are sometimes two different things. So definitely do more mock interviews. They're a low risk way to fail, and you will learn a lot. Okay, Michelle?
I want to point out that when we originally talked about this, we said that we had 10 minutes of slides, and we've now talked for 50
10 minutes
minutes.
of slides.
10 minutes of slides. So I added some stuff that I took from my presentation actually at the software engineering boot camp. So this is actually a little taste of what you get at the boot camps. I want to talk a little bit some resume tips just to give you something to take away that you could use right this second in what you're doing now. So I want you to think of resume writing as marketing. So marketing might not be your strongest suit because you're like, oh, I'm a scientist, I'm an engineer. I don't know anything about marketing. Well, you do know a little bit about making things, which is creating personas. And creating personas is thinking about the other person and what is in their head and what actions they might be taking. And in this case, I think about recruiters, I'm thinking about hiring managers, I'm thinking about both. And just to quickly go through this, it's it's thinking about that they are skimming your resume, they have a range of technical knowledge, they have a limit of resumes they can read, and they like stories. So when you're going over your resumes, I want you to think about those four things and get the most important things from on the top and to the left, because in English we read from the top and left to right. And so if you're trying to make a list, always have the most important things on the left. And then when you want to talk about your accomplishment, tell them in story form because stories connect with you. Think about what you heard from us today. Are you going to remember everything we said? You're going to remember our funny stories that we talked about. I bet you're going to remember our funny stories because they're really good. So think about those when you're working on your resumes. Yeah, I actually stomped on the next slide. So you can skip the next slide, which is exactly what I just said, and go to the next one. And this is all about the circle of your career and thinking about what you're doing. So in here, we have you're growing, you're networking, you're working on your resume, you're getting the interview, you're getting the job, and then you don't just stop because your career is in your hands. Your manager is not in charge of you growing and thriving. They are just in charge of making you do your current job well. So you need to remember that you are always going to be somewhere on this circle. What is it that you most want to do right now? Are you looking for a job? Are you looking to change jobs? So I want to grow your skills. Are you looking to make friends so you can find um, opportunities in the future? What is it that you're looking for right this second? It should be somewhere on this circle. And thinking about this will help you if you join us in coaching, we can help you find like, okay, where are you on this? Okay, what should we do to get you to the next step? To the next step. This is what I get for trying to talk so fast. But I really want to get to the Q&A. So let's go to that
Yeah.
Q&A.
Q&A, ask in the chat, and then I want to give it back to Amelia.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do the giveaway, and then I've got some of the questions that were the most upvoted over that we can go through. Thank you everyone who filled out the giveaway. The winner is Camila Morales. We are so excited to have you in our first data science cohort. We'll send you all the details that you need to know, but congratulations. Thanks for being here. Thank you everyone else who filled it out. And remember, until tonight only, you get this boot camp that's worth over $1,300 for $399. So make sure to use that code tonight if you're interested in getting in the boot camp. Okay, should we move to Q&A, coaches?
Yep. Yeah. So this, you want to talk about this coaching?
Oh,
offerings?
yes. So if you're currently interviewing, if you're like ready to get started with a coach, you know exactly what you want help with. You, like I said, the cool thing about coaching at Leland is you can work one-on-one with the experts that are here today. So Annie and Michelle both have profiles on Leland. We have sent their links before, and we will continue to do so. We just dropped their profiles again. You can also scan these QR code. They've got packages, like if you want an interview package or a resume review package, or you want like that custom kind of end-to-end stuff, grow your data science career. You can see some of the package options on here. So lots of different areas that we can help. Okay, awesome. Annie, Michelle, let's go through some questions. So
Okay.
one that we got kind of, two I'm going to ask that are kind of combinations of different questions that were asked, but slightly more generalized. So we got a lot of questions of like, are certificates necessary? How do I build a portfolio? What specific skills do I need for X role? So I guess my question to you is when I'm evaluating a role, how do I determine what are table stakes? Like, what do I just absolutely need to have to break into data science, to break into this role? And then what are like extra things on top that I'm getting to strengthen my candidacy?
Let me break in a little bit here because I get that question all the time in coaching. And the thing that I want people to focus on is where do you want to work? What do you want to do? And Annie was talking about that a little bit. Like, what actual job do you want? And you shouldn't just be focusing on like one job or one company because that's kind of setting yourself up for failure. You want to set yourself up for success. So you want to focus on an industry, a role, really broad opportunities that you can find for yourself. And what you do is you look at the jobs, research the jobs, take a bunch of them together, and think of yourself as a, you know, as a data, smush them together and see what stands out, right? Because there are trends like, data science jobs in the Midwest versus the East Coast versus small jobs versus big companies. They're all very different, and you're going to find trends based on what you're looking for. And I think Annie wanted to talk more about back on the slide, so go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, yeah, one is some people are coming from another industry, let's say healthcare, right? So you've been doing healthcare in some capacity. Well, what's the natural way to get into data science? Healthcare data science, right? So you should go and search on healthcare data scientists and look at some of the jobs that you are interested in and look at what they're asking for. You're not going to get into retail data science because that will be a new field and you're getting into data science, right? So if you are, an e-commerce person, the natural thing is to be a product data scientist, right? E-commerce, how do you sell stuff, things like that, right? So there's the industry part. And then also now, like looking at it here, what kind of data scientist do you want to be? There's so many kinds. It used to be like, one kind, data science. But now it's so many, it's specialized. Like all things, when things get very popular, they start to specialize. So there's specialization in like marketing and product and ML engineer and AI engineer, analytics engineer, and many more. Like I didn't list them all here. So if you kind of like go search an Indeed or any job site and just search on the data scientist and just see what it looks like, right? And also there's a lot of free, just like here, Coursera, there's like this, I'm clicking it, right? There's Coursera has articles about what kind of data science jobs are trendy. This one has like what kind of data science jobs or data science trends, growth by different, categories. Go search on those. They're free. Figure out what you want to do first. Then you figure out what you want to do, then you can figure out what skill set they need and then learn more about that. Is it foundational statistics or is it Python programming? Do you need to be really good at Python programming? Well, if you need to be really good at Python, take classes and do projects in data science, Python programming. I hope that answered the questions there.
Yeah, that totally
Yeah.
did. It actually dovetailed super well. Oh, Michelle, did you have something to add? Sorry to cut
I
you
was
off.
gonna add that's almost always the first hour of coaching is figuring out how to kind of this journaling exercise of figuring out what you're actually looking for. And so it's very common to not be absolutely sure where you want to go next.
Yeah, I think sometimes it just helps to have someone in the industry who even knows what the different kinds of jobs are sometimes. That dovetailed really well, Annie, to the next question, which we also got a bunch of questions about transitioning into data science. I would guess, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, participants who are still here, tell us if you are transitioning into, Amanda, we may need to turn the chat back on. It feels like a lot of you guys are maybe already graduated and you're into your careers and you're trying to figure out how to pivot into data science. Annie, I loved what you said about figure out, is there a place that's halfway between where you want to go and where you are, and then figure out what the skills or the experience gaps are between that halfway point and where you are. And that's an excellent first step. For someone that is maybe we had a couple people who are coming from like research or academia, or maybe it's like slightly more niche or tangential industries that do still have overlapping skills, but maybe a little bit harder to frame. What's your advice for people who are maybe transitioning from some of those less connected industries?
Yeah, so I actually helped an academia get his first job, like, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. So I did not know that at the time that advice actually worked. I just gave it to him, like, yeah, try it. I don't know. So what I told him is that you're very technical in terms of academics, but you're not very technical in terms of like job experience. So why, and you don't know anybody in the industry, right? So I said, why don't you volunteer for these conferences, large, small, all of them? And then what happens when you volunteer for these conferences is that you always get invited to a Slack. They always talk to you in a Slack how to organize. So, oh, we're going to market this conference on LinkedIn and this other page and so on. And there's lots of calendars and set up talks and stuff like that. You get to talk to everyone. You get to talk to the potential instructor. You get to talk to the person who let people in. And there's a lot of volunteers in running a conference. And because they have to coordinate activities, there's always a Slack. And someone always create a jobs or career channel in the Slack. And you will be the first one who get access to that. So that means this is a warm lead. Hey, I'm a volunteer for, for the whatever. And then I saw that you guys are, hiring a data scientist. I have a PhD in blah, 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 and I would like to talk to you about that. What do you think? And inevitably, the volunteers by default are friendly. If they're not friendly, they would not volunteer. So they're friendly. So then you can actually say, hey, I saw that Red Bull. There was a conference. There was a guy there. I think he was a director of data analytics. He didn't actually talk about his job, but we saw that his company was posting a position similar. And somebody reached out to him like, hey, you know about this job? He goes, oh, it's not my department, somebody else's. Are you interested? I said, yeah, I'm not interested, but my friend is. And she goes, oh yeah, you see a volunteer, tell him to ping me. And so that's how he got a warm connection into a company that he wouldn't have had unless he volunteered, right? And then because some of these conferences are 200 or 300 people volunteers, so that you would actually get to talk to a lot of them in a non-confrontational, like, oh, I need a job from you kind of way, but like, hey, I'm also a volunteer, you know. That's something that worked in the past. So, your
Yeah,
mind
I
varies.
love the advice too to just get inundated. Like if you want to get into data science, then join Reddits, go to conferences, talk to people, cold reach out on LinkedIn. For that, I recommend finding people that have something in common, right? You maybe have a similar company or you graduated from the same school or whatever, but just like surround yourself with the industry of data science and opportunities will pop up that you may be careful on Reddit. I think I've heard you say this, Michelle, that sometimes the software engineering and data science there can be iffy information on Reddit sometimes, but generally, like just get yourself a ton of exposure to data science. Would you agree that if you're trying to transfer, like that's the number one thing that you should be thinking about doing?
Yeah, definitely.
You can learn what their jobs actually are, right? And even if someone isn't available to give you a job, they can tell you what the job is actually like. And I want to say one more thing before we end, because I know we're at time, and I can't decide. Do you think me and Annie should run a boot camp or do our own morning talk show together? Like, what do you think is the next step for us?
Both, as much airtime as possible of you.
Okay,
Maybe we have, do you guys, coaches, do you have time for one more question maybe?
we
Sure.
can do one more.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. We had quite a few people asking about how do you really stand out in your first data and analytics role? So maybe I've got my foot in the door. I'm in that kind of transitionary role. I'm halfway into a data science world and halfway to something that I really, really want. If there's one or two things that I absolutely need to make sure that I'm doing to stand out, get promoted, whatever else, and maybe we speak more generally to like, how do I even stand out in the application with something that would like really push my candidacy above the top? Any thoughts, coaches, to wrap up?
I'm going to talk about when I hire entry level people, what I look for. And often when I'm hiring entry level people, I assume I'll have to teach them everything. So this is like new grads, interns, career changers who have done like, maybe a 6 to 12 week boot camp. And what I look for is passion and excitement for the job, because the job is often going to tell a lot of fear, because there's like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I have to learn so much. I'm so overwhelmed, but also a lot of boring stuff, because you're going to get the most tedious task possible, because everyone's going to think, oh, who's going to do this? We're getting an intern. Yes, the intern's going to do this. So you're going to get a combination of both those things. And what's going to get you through this is excitement about what you're doing. So the nice thing about what I do is I work in the movie. So it's often very easy for people to answer the question like, tell me about a movie that you watched recently. What excites you about it? But you'd be surprised there are some people who applied to work who had good resumes, but when we asked those questions, they were like, I don't know, it doesn't really excite me. And like, well, then why are you here? You could work anywhere else. So find that story about anything. It could be basketball, it could be skateboarding, it could be music, it could be healthcare because you had a family member got sick at one point and you just want to improve the system for them. There's so many different interests that you can turn into careers because tech is a part of everything. So is there anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, so I saw a question, how do we show excitement and passion? So I interview people who have been laid off and they've been looking for a job for 6 months, 9 months, whatever. And then we posted some job like you must know Postgres, you must know something, right? And so, and then that person's resume was pretty strong. We talked to them and I said, oh, do you know Postgres? He goes, no, I don't know. Oh, what have you been doing the last, 6 months? He goes, oh, I was laid off 9 months ago. I've been looking for a job. I said, I was thinking internally, like, you had 9 months to learn more stuff and you didn't learn it. And so I asked him, did you learn anything new in the last 9 months? No, I've been just very busy looking for a job. Oh, I said, you've been, applying for jobs and interviewing for the last 9 months, 40 hours a week for 9 months. I mean, not to be facetious, but I'm like, you had time to learn the most fundamental things so that you actually got an interview. So as obviously you got an interview and we didn't say, yeah, I'll interview tomorrow. We gave you like 2 weeks heads up. Could have just learned something so you can pass that part, right? So that shows me that person had no passion. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Okay. He goes, I'm pretty smart. I can learn whatever I need to do on the job. Like maybe, but if I find somebody where he has it, they already learned it. I don't need to maybe teach you and maybe you get it. So to show passion, I answer this, is you have nights and weekends. And I did this when I had twin sons. I have 3 kids. I have twin sons when they're little. I locked myself up for 4 hours a day on Saturday, 4 hours a day on Sunday, learning stuff so that I can go up when I'm ready to get. I actually took like 2 years off of my career. So I kind of came back. I know what they're going to tell. You haven't done anything for 2 years. No, I have. I learned this, and this. I have the certification, da, 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 da. So, and also I warmed up all my network. Like, hey, I'm about to come back to work. What do you think? I'm looking for a job, So, to show passion, figure out how to solve your own personal problems, learn things that are a requirement in a job description. If you see a job description, there's always required and optional, right? At least have the required. That's what they literally tell you it's required. So learn them and give no one excuses that you're not passionate, right? You have time on your hand. So anyway.
I love that as the last answer because it's applicable to every single job that you're applying to, data science or not. And the one thing that I might add, I have also pushed far less qualified applicants to an interview simply because it felt like they really wanted the job and they were excited about what we were doing. And so one thing that I may add on top of like what you're doing in your personal time, side projects and all of that is show that you want to work for the company that you're applying for, that you're actually interested in the jobs that you're applying for. If there's a question, a lot of times there's a question in the application like, why do you want this job? Or why do you care to work at Netflix or wherever else? Take time to understand what the company does and think about how you could provide value and just be excited about being there. I think that kind of enthusiastic energy is really contagious when you're in an interview and goes a long way. So thanks, coaches, for staying a little bit over to answer some questions. Those were such good answers and insight into data science. For everyone that lasted with us, thank you so much for being here. Michelle and Annie are here of their own volition, helping us get into data science. So if you wouldn't mind helping dropping a thank you in the chat for me. Michelle, Annie, thank you so much for your time and your insights. And participants, thank you for being here and for your attendance and participation and questions and all the things. Leland is here. We are all here to root you on and help you find your next data science job and whatever other goals that you have. So have a great rest of your evening. Good luck in all your pursuits and thanks everyone for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're here to help your dreams come true. That's what I am, a coach.
Oh, I love that, Michelle. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.